Hello, and welcome to a part of central London that's often overlooked by visitors to the capital. It's called Fitzrovia now, and it lies between Soho and Bloomsbury, just at the other side of Oxford Street. It was part of the Manor of Tottenham Court and is mentioned in the Domesday Book as the Manor of Tottenhall. The area had numerous owners over the centuries, but on the restoration of the monarchy in 1660, Charles II gave the land to Charles Fitzroy, the second Duke of Grafton. His father, the first Duke, was Henry Fitzroy, who was an illegitimate son of King Charles. This man also owned property in Ireland, hence Grafton Street in Dublin. Grafton's great-grandson, also Charles Fitzroy, was the first Baron Southampton, and he started to develop the area towards the end of the 18th century. Fitzroy Square was a speculative development intended to provide London residences for aristocratic families, and it was built in 4 stages. Leases for the eastern and southern sides, designed by Robert Adam, were granted in 1792, and the building was completed by Adam's brothers, James and William, in 1798. This is how it looks today. The Duke of Grafton also had a country estate in Suffolk, in a place called Euston, and he built here Euston Hall. He then named another of his London developments after this place. However, I digress. This is Bess of Hardwicke. Living in Derbyshire in the middle of the 16th century, she was the formidable ancestor of a huge family that became among the wealthiest nobility in the land. She was married 4 times, and each marriage brought her more wealth and property. From her second marriage to Sir William Cavendish, she inherited the Chatsworth estate, and from their issue came the Dukes of Portland, Newcastle, Devonshire, Norfolk, and the Earldom of Shrewsbury. Between them, these dukes owned a lot of the land in London, including that land adjoining what the Graftons had in Tottenhall. The heiress of the Duke of Newcastle married Edward Harley, who was the Earl of Oxford and Mortimer. He oversaw the development of the area that contains many streets that now bear his name. Harley Street, of course, Oxford Street and Mortimer Street. Many other streets in the area are named for the families, like Portland Place and Great Portland Street, Cavendish Square, and Great Titchfield Street. Titchfield was the second Duke of Portland's title before he inherited the dukedom. Meanwhile, back in Fitzrovia, towards the end of the 19th century, the area around Fitzroy Square, like nearby Bloomsbury, became the haunt of artists, the intelligentsia and bohemians. For instance, number 29 was the home of George Bernard Shaw from 1887 until his marriage in 1898, and later of Virginia Woolf, who lived there for 4 years from 1907 to 1911. The name Fitzrovia, however, was not used until well into the 20th century, and quite a number of people have claimed authority for giving it that name. The name was recorded in print for the first time by Tom Dryburgh MP, who, as well as being a politician, wrote the William Hickey gossip column in the Daily Express. He was a British journalist, he was a politician, a high Anglican churchman, and possibly a Soviet spy. He served as an MP from 1942 to 1955, and again from 1959 to 1974. He had been a member of the Communist Party of Great Britain for more than 20 years, but he joined the Labour Party in 1945. He was a popular and influential figure in left-wing politics for many years. A favourite meeting place for this motley collection of people was the Fitzroy Tavern, named of course for the second Duke of Grafton. The building had originally been a coffee house, was built in about 1880. In 1919, a Polish immigrant called Judah Kleinfeld, always known as Pop Kleinfeld, took the place over. He welcomed the Bohemian element, and customers came from all parts of society. As well as prolific artists and drinkers like Dylan Thomas and Augustus John, there were others who had a completely different way of life, and in one case, a completely unique way of life. The man on the right here is Albert Pierpoint. He was the official government hangman, and he was responsible for carrying out over 400 executions. The man on the left was Bob Fabian, a very famous police detective in his day, known as Fabian of the Yard. Another regular visitor to the pub was the Irish playwright Brendan Behan, although it's well known that he didn't confine his activities to just this one pub. In 1923, having seen the loser of a darts match in the public bar throw a dart into the ceiling in exasperation, Judah hit on the idea of providing darts to the public with small paper bags attached, which they would fill with small change and then throw into the ceiling for an aptly named charity, Pennies from Heaven. When the money was collected, it was used to take thousands of underprivileged local children on day trips to the countryside. It collected the equivalent of over £500,000 in its time and provided hundreds of children with the extra support they needed. Judah had one child, Annie Kleinfeld. In 1934, she married Charles Allchild. And when Judah retired, they continued to run the Fitzroy together. And they ran the Pennies from Heaven charity. During the war, Charlie served in the RAF, where he met the famous wartime gang show originator Ralph Reeder. The two men developed a close friendship, and after the war, Reeder became a regular visitor to the pub. It was decided to use the Pennies from Heaven money to fund a gigantic annual party for 500 children. Ralph Reeder became the director of entertainment, supported by scouts. The annual parties became one of London's institutions, and in 1953, the year of the Queen's coronation, the Allchilds decided to initiate a special collection to thank Ralph Reeder for his unstinting support. With the generosity of the Fitzroy customers, a ship was purchased and fully equipped, and in July 1956, the vessel was brought up steam to Thames Ditton, where at a ceremony organised by the Ajax Sea Scout group, it was presented to them. The pub is now owned by the Yorkshire brewery Samuel Smith, and it has recently undergone a major refurbishment to put it back to its Victorian splendour. And it's there now to welcome you whenever you are in the area. Well, thank you for joining me. Please come back another time and see where I'm going to go next. Goodbye for now.